Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something that might sound a little strange at first. Why people in the past slept twice a night. Yes, you heard that right. Back in the day, folks didn't just climb into bed, pull up the covers, and sleep through the whole night like we do today. Oh no, they'd sleep in 2 chunks, 2 whole sleep sessions with a little break in between. So get comfy, dim those lights, maybe even turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Before we get too cozy though, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is there, so drop a comment below. Now, dim the lights, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Imagine yourself in the past, in a time before electricity and endless distractions. The day ends, the sun sets, and you retire for the night, just like any other day, except this night is a little different. You're about to experience something that might seem incredibly foreign to us now, biphasic sleep. This is where you sleep in 2 distinct blocks, and the first one is followed by a break in the middle of the night. Strange, right? I mean, today, our idea of a good night's sleep is that glorious, uninterrupted stretch from the moment your head hits the pillow until the alarm blares to get you up. But for much of history, that wasn't the case. This wasn't just something that happened in some far-off distant time either. People across the world, from ancient societies to medieval Europe, slept in 2 segments throughout the night. Historians still argue about the exact why, but there are compelling reasons to suggest that the natural rhythms of light and dark as well as societal norms played a huge part. And believe it or not, some of those reasons might still sound pretty familiar to you. So let's take a deep breath, slip into the past, and see how sleep was once treated as not 1, but 2 peaceful interludes in the night. Now that you've got the gist, let's backtrack a bit and explore how nighttime itself was very different in the past. Imagine the world before streetlights and glowing screens. The night was, in many places, a truly dark and quiet time. With no artificial light to push against the natural rhythm of the sun, people would be much more in tune with the light-dark cycle. You would wake when the sun rose, get your work done during the day, and then, when the sun dipped below the horizon, you'd be left with the kind of dark that we rarely experience now. This natural division of the day was a key factor in why people started sleeping in 2 parts. The first sleep typically began just after dusk, with the darkness providing the perfect cue to begin the night's rest. You'd retire early, maybe around 9 or 10 p.m, and fall into a deep restful slumber. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of sleeping straight through until morning, you'd typically wake up in the middle of the night. And I'm not talking about tossing and turning. People would actually get up, go about some activities, and then return to bed for the second sleep. Historians still argue whether this wakeful period was a sign of restlessness, or just part of the natural rhythm of sleep. Some think that waking up in the middle of the night was seen as perfectly normal and even productive. People would use this break to do various things: pray, write, read, or even engage in social activities. For a few hours, the house might come alive with quiet conversation, maybe even a little candlelight flickering in the stillness of the night. That's right. People weren't just staring at the ceiling trying to fall back asleep. They were awake and active during a time we'd consider the deep heart of the night. You might be wondering what caused this wake-up. Well, it's all down to something we now know as the sleep cycle, which has 2 stages, the first sleep and the second sleep. When people woke in the middle of the night, they were simply transitioning between these cycles. And let's not forget that social context also played a big part in this. The act of waking up in the middle of the night wasn't just a quirky habit. It was part of a communal way of life. People weren't as isolated as they are today, and it wasn't unusual to visit neighbours or family members, chat quietly, or pray for a few hours before heading back to bed. Now that you've got the picture of what the nighttime looked like, let's talk about that first sleep, the deep rest people experienced after they'd first laid down. The first sleep was essential. It was when your body would enter the first phases of restorative sleep, where your muscles would relax and your body could recharge after the day's activities. This sleep wasn't necessarily light, though. People of the past were often much more attuned to the natural rhythms of their surroundings than we are today. With no artificial light to disturb them, they would fall into a deep slumber once the darkness of the night fully settled in. You could imagine the feeling of curling up in a warm bed, with a fire crackling softly in the hearth, the warmth of the blankets comforting your tired limbs. The sounds around you were soft, perhaps the wind gently brushing against the windows, or the faint creaks of the wooden house settling into the coolness of the night. This was your first sleep, the kind that, for centuries, was seen as the natural way to rest. People in the past didn't just fall asleep as we do now. They entered into a much more gradual sleep, gently drifting off to the rhythm of the natural world. Without the buzzing distractions of today's world, like phones, TV, or noisy neighbours, the night was far quieter, far more peaceful. The first sleep was a time for the body to reset, a slower descent into the depths of slumber, and it was important. It set the foundation for the second sleep, the one that would come after the midnight break. The rest was essential for people to stay healthy and productive. Historians still argue whether this sleep was exactly the same as what we experience in the first phases of modern sleep cycles. Some suggest it was less deep than today's first sleep, which is more controlled by sleep patterns we now understand through modern science. Others argue that it was simply part of the body's natural rhythm, like a form of biological instinct. When it got dark, your body knew it was time to rest. It's fascinating how these rhythms, ones that seem so unnatural to us now, formed the basis for how people used to experience the night. The night wasn't silent, though. You may wonder, if people were deep in sleep, how did they wake up in the middle of the night? Was there a particular sound or reason for this? Well, it wasn't just the biological urge to urinate, though that certainly happened. It was the fact that this period of wakefulness between the two sleeps was a normal, accepted part of the rhythm of the night. And while the first sleep was deep, the second sleep came with a different tone, a slightly lighter kind of rest after people returned to bed. But before that, let's talk about the important pause between these two phases of sleep. Now, after a deep, rejuvenating rest during the first sleep, you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night. This wasn't necessarily unusual. It wasn't the toss-and-turning, restless kind of wakefulness that we often experience today. No, this was the break between the two sleeps, a natural part of the night's rhythm, almost as if your body and mind were designed to function in two distinct sleep phases, separated by a brief wakeful period. At first, you might find it strange to think of waking up in the middle of the night as anything but disruptive. After all, today we associate that waking as a sign of poor sleep quality, or a reason for concern. But in the past, waking in the middle of the night was actually a normal part of a healthy sleep cycle. In fact, people expected it. It was considered a time to reset, to refresh the mind and body before slipping back into another cycle of sleep, and people used that time differently, depending on their environment, needs, and culture. It wasn't filled with frustration or the ticking clock of an early alarm. It was a welcome respite. So what did people do when they woke up during that middle of the night break? Well, believe it or not, they didn't just lie there staring at the ceiling or grumbling about the lost sleep. Instead, they got up and did things. Imagine yourself, back in medieval Europe, quietly sliding out of your warm bed. The air might be cool, the crackling of a fire filling the room with warmth. You might kneel beside your bed and offer a quick prayer, an act of devotion that helped people centre themselves during the night. Or perhaps you walk down the hallway to visit family members, exchanging quiet conversation about the day's events. In some cultures, this middle-of-the-night period was even considered a time to engage in socialising, a moment to connect with loved ones and neighbours who might also be awake. The night wasn't simply for sleep, it was a time for reflection, bonding, and sometimes even creativity. Historians still argue about exactly how long this middle period of wakefulness lasted. Was it 30 minutes, an hour, or longer? What we do know is that this was not time spent in frantic motion or searching for distractions. Instead, this pause in the night allowed for mental and physical reset. The act of waking up and getting out of bed might have allowed the body to stretch, relieve muscle tension, or even prepare itself for the second, more restful part of the night's sleep. It wasn't rushed. It was a natural rhythm that allowed for a moment of balance before returning to the next round of rest. Some historians suggest that people used this time to reflect or even carry out tasks that didn't require full attention. In a time when daily activities were often physically demanding, whether it was tending to livestock, growing crops, or performing manual labour, this nighttime pause might have been seen as a chance to reset, physically and mentally, before heading back to sleep. There's evidence too that people use this time for intimate conversations. Sometimes it was the only time families or couples could be together without the distractions of the busy day. It was a time when even the quietest moments became more valuable. In fact, some records from the past even describe a kind of ritual to the break between the first and second sleep. In the 16th century, People would often light candles or use small lanterns to help light the space. This would mark the official return to the awake part of the night, letting people orient themselves to the present moment, prepare themselves for the next sleep, and perhaps engage in some light activities. Sometimes this break was used to have a small meal, anything from a piece of bread to a simple drink of wine or ale, just to stave off hunger. Others found it an ideal time to write, reflect, or even dream. Yes, dream. Some even believed that the second sleep held the potential for more vivid or important dreams. And why not? You've had a chance to awaken, shake off any sleepiness, and your mind is ready to re-enter the world of dreams once again. The very idea of wakeful sleep might sound odd to us today, but it was completely normal for centuries. People didn't view it as a disturbance. They saw it as an integral part of their natural sleep cycle. It wasn't until modern changes in technology, such as the advent of electric lighting, longer working hours and later social activities, that the idea of continuous sleep began to take hold. But for most of history, waking up in the middle of the night was as natural as sleep itself. It was just part of the human experience, a small but significant break before the second sleep. Even more interestingly, people didn't just passively experience these nighttime awakenings, they adapted to them. Over time, sleep became a structured, organized event in people's lives. Yet, while we might look at the past with skepticism, thinking people didn't get quality sleep, their ability to adapt to a biphasic sleep pattern may actually have been quite beneficial. This concept was grounded in natural rhythms, with breaks that allowed for mental, physical, and emotional recovery, rather than the constant, uninterrupted rest we attempt to achieve today. The middle of the night wake period may seem odd by today's standards, but in reality it wasn't a problem. It was part of the rhythm of life. What's even more fascinating is how this sleep pattern, which once felt like a natural, essential practice, began to fade as we entered into the modern age. As we turn the page toward the development of continuous sleep, we'll explore how this shift occurred and how our current sleep patterns have been shaped by the world around us. As we move into the modern era, it's fascinating to see how something as universal and fundamental as sleep became subject to the pressures of industrialization and the ever-advancing march of technology. The middle of the night awakening that was once seen as natural, even beneficial, began to feel more and more out of place as the world around people shifted. You see, when the Industrial Revolution arrived, it didn't just change how people worked, it changed when and how they slept. Picture yourself in the late 1800s, a time when artificial lighting had become widespread, when factories and urban centres were buzzing with activity long into the night. The world was now governed by a relentless rhythm of clocks and machinery, and the natural flow of time seemed to get lost in the shuffle. Before, people had worked according to the natural rhythms of the sun and moon, with days filled with activity and nights filled with rest and rejuvenation. But with the rise of electricity and the expanding influence of factories, the concept of working hours became far more rigid. It wasn't just about sunlight anymore. People were expected to be awake for much longer hours, working well into the evening, and this cultural shift made two-phase sleeping increasingly difficult. Think about it. Electric light allowed factories and businesses to extend their hours, enabling constant productivity. For the first time in human history, society was pushing people to stay awake well past the natural point of rest. Instead of winding down after a long day of hard work, now the working day didn't have to end at sunset. Artificial lighting allowed people to keep working and socializing long into the night, and as a result, the natural pattern of biphasic sleep began to unravel. But that's not the only reason why the two-phase sleep cycle started to fade. Modern life also brought with it new pressures. Urbanization meant that more people were living in crowded, noisy environments, where the peaceful, uninterrupted darkness of the countryside was replaced by constant street noise, the hum of machines, and the clattering of carriages or later, automobiles. This new, louder environment made it harder for people to find the deep, restorative sleep they once enjoyed in the quiet of the night. This marked the beginning of the shift to the continuous sleep cycle we know today, a sleep session that begins after the final activities of the day and stretches uninterrupted into the early morning hours. Historians still argue whether this shift was purely a result of the changing environment, or whether it was influenced more by cultural forces like the new expectations of productivity. Some argue that the push for long, uninterrupted hours of sleep was the result of modern industry, which required people to adapt to a new schedule that was no longer based on the natural cycles of light and dark. Others suggest that it was more about social pressures, the desire for uniformity and routine in a world that was becoming increasingly regimented. Whatever the cause, the idea of getting 2 solid blocks of sleep per night faded into history as modern society began to prioritize continuous, uninterrupted sleep. But the story doesn't end there. Just because society changed its approach to sleep doesn't mean it was an instant switch, or that the practice of sleeping twice a night completely disappeared. Even into the early 20th century, many people still practice biphasic sleep, albeit in more subtle forms. It was only with the rise of electric lighting and longer working hours that this new sleep pattern became firmly entrenched in the modern consciousness. Think about it. During the 19th century, even with the introduction of artificial lighting, it was still common for people to wake in the middle of the night and engage in simple activities like reading or chatting with family members. In fact, some people didn't even notice a change in their sleep habits. They just adapted to a new rhythm that still allowed for this break in the middle of the night. However, as electric lighting continued to improve and the demands of modern life increased, the continuous sleep cycle became the dominant sleep pattern. The sounds of industrialized cities, carriages rattling down cobblestone streets, factory whistles calling workers to their shifts, became the soundtrack of people's days, pushing them to wake early and sleep long into the night without a break. In this new world, the once popular first sleep was gradually overshadowed by the need to sleep in one solid block as the pace of life continued to increase. The social implications of this shift are interesting as well. As work hours became more rigid, there was an increasing expectation that people would conform to a regular schedule, one dictated by the clock, not by the natural world. This meant that the idea of resting during the night, with a pause for reflection, intimacy, or prayer, was replaced by the idea of productivity. Sleep was now seen as something that was needed to recover, not something to be savoured or experienced in 2 separate phases. Sleep itself had become part of the industrial work schedule, where every hour counted. There was no time for the traditional practices of waking up in the middle of the night and engaging with others or your own thoughts. It was now all about maximising rest to fuel the productive day ahead. As we look toward the future, it's curious to think whether we're heading back towards some form of biphasic sleep. Could we, in this fast-paced world, return to a time when people woke up in the middle of the night? Could we reintroduce a natural rhythm, one that integrates moments of reflection or intimacy in the stillness of the night? Some recent studies on sleep and mental health suggest that breaking up sleep into 2 phases, in fact, may have significant benefits for our physical and emotional well-being, but we'll explore that in a little more detail later. For now, though, we've seen how the first sleep gave way to the second, and how our modern schedules forced us into one long block of rest. But before this shift to continuous sleep, people were in tune with nature's cycles in a way we're no longer accustomed to today. And in the chapters ahead, we'll see how modernity shaped the way we sleep, and whether we've reached a point where our bodies, our minds, and society at large are ready to rediscover that lost rhythm of sleep. As we now move beyond the Industrial Revolution and into the modern world, it's clear that sleep patterns were forever changed by the forces of technology and societal demands. With the advent of electric lighting, the 24-hour economy, and the pressures of modern life, sleep itself became something to be managed, controlled, and optimized. But here's where things get interesting. Even as the practice of biphasic sleep faded, it wasn't entirely forgotten. In fact, the modern world has begun to circle back toward a rediscovery of natural sleep cycles, though this time with the help of modern science. For much of the 20th century, sleep became an afterthought. We thought of it as something that could be compressed, ignored, or simply done better, with pills and artificial means. From the 1950s through to the late 20th century, sleep aids became a booming industry. Sleeping pills, melatonin supplements, and other substances were marketed as the cure for sleep deprivation, an issue that was now seen as a byproduct of modern, fast-paced living. But as the world continued to move toward a more work-centered lifestyle, we began to lose touch with the natural patterns of rest that had once been so ingrained in society. We now know much more about sleep science and the role that our internal circadian rhythms play in regulating when and how we sleep. Scientists today tell us that sleep is essential not just for physical restoration, but for mental health as well. The way we sleep, how long, how deeply, and at what times, affects everything from our cognitive function to our immune system. It's no longer just about getting enough sleep. It's about getting sleep that aligns with the rhythms of our bodies, which brings us back to the fascinating question of biphasic sleep. Recent studies have shown that breaking sleep into two distinct phases might actually be beneficial for certain people. For instance, some studies suggest that sleeping in two segments, perhaps a few hours after sunset and then again after a brief wake period, could improve memory consolidation, help with deeper levels of rest, and even promote creative thinking. In fact, some modern sleep researchers have looked back to historical sleep patterns as a model, and the results are intriguing. Historians and sleep scientists still argue whether biphasic sleep really was superior to consolidated sleep in terms of health benefits. Some assert that waking in the middle of the night was beneficial, while others maintain that continuous uninterrupted sleep is the ideal for modern times. If you were to live your life according to a biphasic sleep schedule, the rhythm might go something like this. You'd go to bed shortly after sunset, enjoy a few solid hours of deep rest, then wake up in the middle of the night, perhaps to read a book, do some quiet thinking, or even meditate. This wakeful period might last anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Then, you'd fall back asleep for a second, deeper sleep, allowing your body to fully rest and reset for the next day. It's fascinating to think that this once natural pattern of sleep, something so commonplace for centuries, was lost in the hustle of industrialized urban life, and yet, it feels almost like we're on the verge of rediscovering it. Think of it this way. Modern technology has made it possible for us to stay up longer, work longer, and consume information later than ever before. But it has also given us the tools to better understand our natural needs. Sleep apps, light-blocking technology, and even scientific research on sleep cycles are giving us the knowledge we need to optimize our sleep, rather than merely force it into a one-size-fits-all mold. In today's world, there are people who are trying to reintroduce biphasic sleep into their daily routines, citing benefits such as increased productivity, better mental clarity, and improved emotional balance. It's no longer just about sleeping more, but sleeping better, in a way that fits with the natural flow of your body's internal clock. These modern attempts to reintroduce biphasic sleep are more informed than ever before, as we learn more about our natural sleep needs. What's also fascinating is the rise of the siesta culture in countries like Spain, Mexico, and parts of Italy, where people still take midday breaks to rest. While this isn't exactly the same as waking up in the middle of the night, the idea of breaking up sleep during the day, taking a pause in the middle of a busy schedule to recharge, is a kind of modern reincarnation of the two-phase sleep pattern. The fact that people in certain cultures still embrace this practice shows that perhaps our natural sleep needs haven't changed all that much. Just the way we view them has. But let's not ignore the modern realities of today's society. There's a good chance that the push for biphasic sleep might only be practical for a small percentage of the population, particularly those who are able to control their work schedule or lifestyle. The demands of modern life don't always accommodate for the luxury of breaking up your sleep into two chunks, especially in fast-paced, high-stress environments where a solid, uninterrupted sleep is considered the norm. Interestingly, though, some experts suggest that the future of sleep might not be as rigidly structured as we think. With the rise of flexible work schedules, the boom in remote working, and the increasing focus on self-care and health, we could be looking at a world where sleep flexibility becomes the new norm, where individuals take control of their sleep schedules based on their personal preferences and needs, rather than adhering to the traditional model of continuous 8-hour rest. So while the middle of the night wake-up may seem like something of the past, it's clear that sleep is something we're continuing to rediscover, both in terms of its importance and its potential to be optimized. Whether or not biphasic sleep becomes more mainstream, it's clear that understanding our natural rhythms and taking a more individualized approach to sleep is a key factor in ensuring a healthier, more balanced future. As we move deeper into the modern era, the resurgence of interest in sleep patterns reveals just how much we're reconnecting with our natural biological rhythms. It's as if, after years of artificial light and rigid work schedules dictating our sleep, we're finally returning to the very thing that sustained humanity for centuries. It's almost poetic, really, like rediscovering a lost treasure that was always within our grasp. One of the main reasons people are exploring biphasic sleep again is the increasing recognition that sleep is not just a passive activity, but a crucial element of our overall well-being. Over the past few decades, sleep science has blossomed, and we've learned a lot about how sleep affects every aspect of our health, from cognitive function to emotional regulation. The rise of sleep studies and the continuous development of technologies like wearable sleep trackers have given us a whole new understanding of how vital sleep is. But we're not just concerned with how much sleep we're getting, but when we're getting it and how our natural rhythms, our internal clocks, interact with our environment. There's a growing body of evidence that suggests that sleep isn't one continuous block of rest. Instead, it's a series of interconnected stages that need to work together to maximize the benefits. In fact, the concept of biphasic sleep may hold the key to achieving the kind of restorative, uninterrupted sleep that many of us are missing. So let's take a moment to explore the science behind it all and how this ancient practice might be a modern solution to a very modern problem: sleep deprivation. When people sleep in two phases, it's more than just breaking up the night. It's about how the body aligns itself with circadian rhythms. These rhythms are our body's natural cycles of wakefulness and sleep, dictated by the rise and fall of the sun. In the past, people slept in two phases because it fit naturally with these rhythms. First sleep at dusk, a wakeful period in the middle of the night, and second sleep in the early hours of the morning. Even today, we can't escape these rhythms. Our bodies still crave those natural pauses, even if we don't always listen to them. When you take a break in the middle of the night, you're essentially giving your body permission to align with the natural fluctuations of energy that occur throughout the day. Recent studies show that breaking up sleep into two blocks may have cognitive benefits. For example, some sleep experts suggest that waking up during the middle of the night can be an opportunity for memory consolidation. In a way, this middle period could be seen as a mental reset, where the brain goes over what it learned during the day, processes the information, and gets ready for the second part of the sleep cycle. And when people return to sleep for their second stretch, their bodies enter deeper, more restorative stages of sleep, like slow-wave sleep and REM sleep. These stages are crucial for physical recovery, memory processing, and emotional balance. But it's not just about the brain and body syncing with nature, it's also about the mindset. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, but instead of feeling anxious or frustrated that you're not sleeping straight through, you embrace that wakeful time. For many, the quiet stillness of the night is the perfect time for creativity, introspection, or problem solving. In the past, people used these nighttime hours to write, pray, converse, or even engage in spiritual practices. In fact, some of the world's greatest writers and thinkers have claimed that their most creative moments came during the quiet hours of the night. Even today, some people say that their best ideas emerge when they wake up in the middle of the night and have time to think without the distractions of the day. Of course, it's not all about waking up in the night and having a perfectly productive time. It's more about allowing the body and mind the freedom to reset when needed. For modern-day enthusiasts of biphasic sleep, it's about getting better quality rest during both sleep sessions, not just getting more sleep overall. For some, this sleep pattern might seem like an indulgence or even an impracticality in today's fast-paced world, but those who swear by it talk about how much better they feel. More alert, more rested, and more connected to their body's natural needs. So as we look at the potential for biphasic sleep, it's not just about doing something different. It's about reconnecting with a more natural way of being, listening to our internal clocks, and giving ourselves the freedom to sleep in ways that might better suit our needs. It's a subtle acknowledgement of the ways our bodies have been shaped by nature, and it asks the question, how far have we come in our search for more sleep, and are we truly getting the quality rest we need? Interestingly, this return to biphasic sleep isn't just happening among sleep researchers or die-hard health enthusiasts. In fact, some of the world's busiest people are embracing it as a way to manage the demands of a modern connected world. Entrepreneurs, executives, and writers, people who are constantly on the go, are exploring how to make rest fit into their demanding schedules, and many are turning to biphasic sleep as an alternative to the one-size-fits-all, uninterrupted sleep pattern that has become the norm, even as we continue to search for the best way to balance our sleep in a world of increasing demands. Biphasic sleep offers us a chance to reclaim part of our natural rhythm. It's a little like returning to the quiet pause in the middle of the night, an opportunity to reset, refresh, and prepare ourselves for the next stage of our lives, just like people did centuries ago. As science continues to shed light on the nuances of sleep and how we can optimize it, biphasic sleep might just be the key to creating healthier, more productive sleep habits for the future. As we continue to delve into the fascinating world of biphasic sleep, it's time to shift gears and consider the broader implications of this sleep pattern. How does it actually affect us on a deeper level? How does it influence our mental health, productivity, and overall well-being? While biphasic sleep has historical roots, modern science has started to take a closer look at its benefits, and not just for creative thinkers or night owls. The potential impact of a more natural sleep cycle extends far beyond a simple reconfiguration of your nightly routine. In our modern world, sleep deprivation has reached epidemic proportions. More and more people are suffering from poor sleep quality, with many of us tossing and turning in an attempt to fall asleep or waking up frequently throughout the night. As the demands of work, family, and social obligations continue to pile up, sleep often takes a back seat. We've all heard the advice: get 8 hours of sleep uninterrupted. But what happens when that's simply not feasible? What if a better sleep pattern isn't about one straight stretch of rest, but a split intentional sleep cycle? It's worth exploring how biphasic sleep can offer a solution to some of our most pressing modern sleep issues. In fact, some experts argue that, instead of aiming for a single long stretch of sleep, people should be embracing the natural breaks in their rest. The idea is that these breaks aren't disruptive or damaging, as we might once have thought, but rather allow for recovery, creativity, and mental clarity. This sleep system could be the answer to a more sustainable, balanced sleep cycle. Think about it. Modern research tells us that the first few hours of sleep are critical for physical restoration. Your muscles recover, your immune system strengthens, and your body undergoes vital repair processes. But the second phase of sleep, which occurs during the second sleep, is just as important for cognitive function, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. In a way, sleeping in two distinct chunks could help us tap into the benefits of both phases, rather than trying to force them into one uninterrupted block. This shift could help people not just sleep more, but sleep more effectively. Moreover, when people wake up in the middle of the night during a biphasic sleep cycle, it often doesn't feel disruptive. In fact, it's been observed that waking up at this time, rather than pushing through sleep, can help people achieve more restorative sleep when they return to bed. Waking up naturally and allowing for a break in the middle of the night could allow you to return to a deeper sleep, almost like hitting a reset button for your body and mind, rather than forcing yourself to sleep through the night, only to toss and turn or wake up feeling groggy. You allow yourself to wake, stretch, and reorient before you return to bed for another sleep session. But beyond physical and mental health benefits, biphasic sleep also seems to fit better with our natural circadian rhythms. The body's internal clock, which is deeply tied to the cycle of light and dark, is regulated by the presence of sunlight during the day and the darkness of night. This is why sleep feels so natural in the dark hours, and why, historically, people often woke in the middle of the night and engaged in low-key activities like reading, meditating, or socializing before heading back to bed. The rise of artificial light, however, threw off this delicate balance, allowing people to work and play late into the night and disrupting the natural sleep cycle. In today's modern world, this biological misalignment is contributing to many of the sleep-related problems we face, such as insomnia and circadian rhythm disorders. Interestingly, biphasic sleep might also align better with people's personal productivity patterns. We know that not everyone is a morning person. Some people thrive late at night, while others are more alert after a good rest in the afternoon. The flexibility of biphasic sleep allows individuals to optimize their most productive times by aligning their sleep schedule with their natural energy peaks. For some, that means getting a full, restful first sleep, waking for a few hours of relaxation or productivity, and then heading back to bed for a second, restorative sleep. This sleep cycle could provide more opportunities to work, reflect, or relax without sacrificing the critical benefits of deep, restorative rest. But this doesn't come without challenges. The main hurdle for most people is fitting biphasic sleep into a world that demands continuous activity. Our societal expectations of what a normal sleep schedule looks like are still largely dictated by the standard 8-hour uninterrupted sleep block. In most places, work schedules, school hours, and social commitments are organized around the traditional sleep cycle, making it difficult for people to break free from this structure. Modern life, after all, was designed with continuous sleep in mind. Employers often expect employees to work 9 to 5, and our social lives have been structured around the assumption that people are awake during the day and sleep at night. For those who try biphasic sleep, a common struggle can be the initial adjustment. Shifting your sleep to 2 blocks requires a rethinking of how we use our time, especially the hours after the first sleep period. It's not just about finding the time to wake up, but about making sure the activities you engage in during your wakeful period don't disrupt your ability to rest again. For example, if you use this time to work, engage in stimulating conversation, or indulge in bright screens, it may interfere with your ability to return to restful sleep. It's a delicate balance between allowing for wakefulness and ensuring that your second sleep isn't disrupted by too much stimulation. Despite these challenges, some people have managed to make biphasic sleep work, citing improved alertness, productivity, and mental clarity. The success of this sleep pattern depends largely on an individual's ability to make it fit their lifestyle and manage the time effectively. And of course, it's not for everyone. Some people find that sticking to a solid, continuous block of sleep works best for them. But for those who have experienced the benefits of biphasic sleep, it feels like a natural rhythm, one that brings them closer to a more balanced, healthy life. As we continue to explore the history of sleep, we'll look at some modern-day experiments with biphasic sleep and whether these ancient practices could be reintroduced as a solution to the growing sleep crisis we face today. Could this return to a more natural sleep cycle help solve the epidemic of sleep deprivation and improve our overall quality of life? As we continue exploring the fascinating potential of biphasic sleep, it's clear that the resurgence of interest in this ancient practice speaks to a growing realization about how modern life has disrupted our natural rhythms. With technology, artificial light, and a 24-hour economy influencing when we sleep, many are starting to acknowledge that our bodies might be better suited to a different sleep cycle, one that mirrors what our ancestors practiced. But as we discuss the potential of biphasic sleep, it's important to understand how its resurgence is intertwined with the increasing focus on mental health, well-being, and the science of sleep. Modern sleep science has been pushing for a greater understanding of how our sleep patterns, when we sleep and how we sleep, affect everything from our productivity to our mood to our overall health. One of the most striking elements of this research is how biphasic sleep has been linked to better cognitive performance, creativity, and mood regulation. It's as if our brains, used to functioning in 2 stages of sleep, can thrive with a little break in between, something that may not be surprising when you consider how different our lifestyles have become compared to the past. Let's take a look at creativity. Some of the most famous thinkers in history have openly credited their most insightful moments to the quiet hours of the night, those very hours when people once woke up in the middle of their sleep cycle and had time to reflect. Think about people like Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Edison, or Nikola Tesla. These figures often worked late into the night and reportedly thrived on interrupted sleep. In fact, the act of waking up in the middle of the night, when the body is naturally transitioning from one sleep phase to another, has been described by many as a fertile time for ideas. Some even argue that the state of semi-wakefulness, when the mind is not entirely asleep but not fully awake, is perfect for creative thought. And it's not just creativity that seems to flourish in these early hours. Mental health too appears to benefit from this split sleep cycle. Studies show that fragmented sleep, when practiced correctly, could help relieve stress, reduce anxiety, and even improve emotional regulation. The notion that waking up and allowing yourself some mental space in the middle of the night offers a sense of emotional relief is incredibly intriguing. For those who have found themselves waking up in the middle of the night with racing thoughts, the idea that this time could be used to process emotions or engage in quiet reflection feels like an almost natural remedy. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably wondering, is it all just wishful thinking, or can science really back up these claims about biphasic sleep? Well, here's where the modern experiments come into play. Researchers are diving deep into how sleep stages interact and whether 2-phase sleep could be the key to unlocking greater mental clarity. In fact, there have been some fascinating studies involving sleep deprivation that show the negative impact of one continuous sleep period, especially for those who struggle with sleep disorders. Some modern experiments with biphasic sleep suggest that people who sleep in 2 phases might experience deeper, more restorative rest in the second sleep, helping their bodies and minds recharge more efficiently. And let's not overlook the role of napping. As part of the biphasic sleep system, naps could be the key to optimizing rest throughout the day. In fact, many cultures, such as in Spain and other parts of southern Europe, have long embraced the siesta, a brief midday nap that aligns perfectly with the natural energy dips we experience in the afternoon. Napping isn't just for the lazy. It's a scientifically backed practice that helps to reduce sleep pressure, refresh cognitive function, and even improve memory retention. For those who practice biphasic sleep, the concept of taking two distinct periods of rest could help alleviate fatigue and increase mental alertness throughout the day. But like any shift in lifestyle, adopting biphasic sleep isn't without its challenges, especially when we consider modern work schedules and societal expectations. Workplaces demand our attention during fixed hours, and our culture doesn't always provide the flexibility to sleep whenever our bodies naturally feel the need to. For those trying to adopt this sleep pattern, the most common challenge is finding time, or rather the freedom, to implement this split sleep cycle. The reality of modern life often conflicts with the idea of waking up in the middle of the night and engaging in a second phase of sleep. So, where does that leave us? It seems that while biphasic sleep holds promise, it's not the one-size-fits-all solution. Some people thrive on continuous sleep while others might benefit from splitting their rest. The key here is personalization. The future of sleep, and perhaps our future well-being, will rely heavily on tailoring our sleep schedules to our individual needs. Whether we end up embracing a traditional 8-hour block of sleep or experimenting with sleep cycles, one thing is clear. Understanding the deep connection between sleep and mental health is crucial for finding our optimal rhythm. In the end, perhaps biphasic sleep isn't about simply returning to an old way of life. Rather, it's about using the insights from history and modern science to create a new approach to rest. Our ancestors may have had the luxury of following the natural rhythms of their world, but now, with the knowledge of how sleep impacts everything from creativity to emotional health, we can reinvent our own sleep habits in a way that truly supports our needs. As we continue our exploration of biphasic sleep and its potential benefits, it's important to ask the bigger question: could biphasic sleep help solve some of the growing sleep issues of the modern world? In a time when millions suffer from sleep deprivation, insomnia, and other sleep disorders, could a return to a natural sleep rhythm, one that mirrors the ancient practice of 2 sleeps per night, be the key to restoring our well-being? Let's step back for a moment. We know that modern life, with its constant demands, overwhelming screen time, and endless work schedules, has disrupted our natural sleep patterns. This disruption has contributed to an epidemic of poor sleep, which has wide-ranging consequences for both our physical and mental health. From impaired cognitive function to an increased risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and even depression, the effects of sleep deprivation are undeniable. And yet, despite knowing the importance of sleep, many of us still struggle to get enough quality rest. The science behind sleep today tells us that it's not just about getting enough sleep, but about getting it at the right time. Our bodies have evolved over millennia to operate according to natural cycles of day and night, what we now refer to as our circadian rhythms. These rhythms are finely tuned to respond to light and darkness, helping us regulate everything from body temperature to hormone production. When we disrupt these rhythms, by staying up late, waking up early, or introducing artificial light, we confuse our bodies, resulting in poorer quality sleep. The increasing evidence supporting biphasic sleep comes in part from this understanding of circadian rhythms. By splitting sleep into 2 distinct phases, we might more closely align with the natural sleep cycles our bodies were designed for. Now let's imagine a world where biphasic sleep becomes a mainstream sleep pattern again. Could it be the answer to our collective sleep crisis? In theory, the benefits are numerous. For one, breaking up sleep into 2 sessions could optimize the stages of sleep. The first sleep, deep and restorative, would allow the body to undergo physical repair and regeneration, while the second sleep would provide an opportunity for more intensive memory consolidation, emotional processing, and mental clarity. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, feeling rested and calm, and knowing that you have the flexibility to spend an hour in quiet reflection or creativity before returning to your second rest period. It sounds almost like a luxury, doesn't it? The mental health benefits alone are compelling. Anxiety, stress, and depression are widespread in our modern world, and many of these conditions are closely tied to poor sleep. The process of waking up in the middle of the night could give individuals a chance to process thoughts and emotions in a way that isn't possible with a single, uninterrupted sleep. Imagine how beneficial that could be for someone struggling with overwhelming thoughts. Rather than tossing and turning, the brief waking period might allow for an opportunity to release pent-up tension, reflect on the day's events, or even engage in calming activities like meditation or journaling. But it's not just mental health that stands to benefit from biphasic sleep. The cognitive benefits are also significant. We know that memory consolidation occurs during the deeper stages of sleep, typically during the second half of the sleep cycle. With biphasic sleep, the brain could be given an extra opportunity to solidify memories, process new information, and prepare for the next day's tasks. By allowing two distinct sleep periods, our minds might become sharper, more focused, and better equipped to handle the challenges of daily life. And if this sleep cycle can be tied to our body's natural rhythms, the result could be even more efficient sleep, making us feel more rested and alert during the day. However, there are challenges to reintroducing biphasic sleep in today's world. In our modern society, where work hours are fixed and social schedules are tightly regulated, the idea of breaking up sleep into 2 sessions may seem impractical for many. The pressures of a 9-to-5 workday, combined with the societal expectation to sleep in one continuous block, make biphasic sleep a difficult habit to implement for most people. And let's face it, we're not exactly living in a time where many of us can afford to choose our own sleep schedule. But this is where modern technology may come to the rescue. As more and more people shift to remote work, flexible hours, or self-employed lifestyles, it's possible that we'll see a resurgence in biphasic sleep as a viable option. With advances in sleep science and technology, we now have access to tools that can help us track our sleep patterns, adjust our sleep environment, and even control our exposure to light, which is crucial for regulating sleep. For instance, using blue light filters, smart lighting systems that mimic the natural progression of sunlight, and wearables that track our sleep stages could allow us to optimize a biphasic sleep schedule with ease. And let's not forget that biphasic sleep doesn't have to be rigid. It's not about following a strict one-size-fits-all approach to sleep. It's about personalizing your rest schedule to your own unique needs. For some, splitting their sleep into 2 sessions might mean a restful first sleep, followed by a brief period of reading, reflection, or creativity, before diving into a second round of sleep. For others, it could mean a nap in the afternoon and a late-night rest. The flexibility to adapt a sleep schedule that suits you could be the key to improving both the quality and quantity of your sleep. As the world continues to evolve and we gain more control over our daily lives and schedules, biphasic sleep might just be the answer to overcoming the challenges of modern life. It's a return to a more natural, balanced rhythm, one that connects us with the rhythms of nature, allowing us to reclaim the kind of restorative, rejuvenating rest that we've lost in the rush of modernity. If the science continues to support the benefits of 2-phase sleep, it could be that the future of sleep is a return to a practice that was once the norm for most of humanity. As we explore the potential of biphasic sleep in today's fast-paced world, it's important to understand the broader context in which this practice might take root once again. The way we think about sleep today, this idea of an uninterrupted, continuous block of sleep, has been deeply influenced by the rapid changes in modern life. We've been conditioned to prioritize waking hours for work, socializing, and productivity, with little room for flexibility when it comes to rest. Yet the more we learn about sleep, the more we realize that our ancestors had it right all along. Sleep should be as much about quality as it is about quantity. So, let's think about what the future could look like if we embrace the possibility of 2 sleep phases, and how this could positively impact our work culture, our health, and our overall way of living. The benefits of biphasic sleep are not just confined to improved mental clarity or cognitive performance. In fact, the way we sleep, whether it's segmented or continuous, can have a significant impact on our physical health as well. Consider this. In the world of health and wellness, one of the key factors contributing to better sleep is consistent rest, not necessarily a straight 8 hours. Biphasic sleep, when done correctly, could offer a chance to get 2 blocks of rest that are both deep and restorative, which is more in alignment with our circadian rhythms. This kind of sleep pattern could enhance the benefits of deep sleep, which is where the body does much of its repair work. Imagine waking up after the first sleep feeling physically rested, and then having a couple of hours to reset mentally before returning to bed for a second, equally restful stretch. The effects on muscle repair, immune function, and even metabolism could be immense. While biphasic sleep offers benefits to physical health, it might also be a game changer for the mental health crisis facing much of the world today. Sleep deprivation, or poor quality sleep, is linked to a wide array of mental health problems, including anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline. The opportunity to wake up in the middle of the night and process emotions, thoughts, and even engage in some low-stress activities could alleviate some of this. This extra time to reflect or journal could help reduce the overwhelming mental load many people carry. Instead of struggling to fall asleep or worrying about not getting enough hours in the night, biphasic sleep could give people more control over how they rest, rejuvenate, and reset. But how can we make biphasic sleep a reality in the modern world, where time is at a premium and productivity is everything? The answer could lie in more flexible working hours, increased societal awareness of sleep needs, and the rise of self-care practices that prioritize mental well-being. The shift away from rigid 9-to-5 schedules, which often enforce a continuous, exhausting cycle of work and rest, could create more room for people to experiment with their sleep schedules. Imagine a world where businesses recognize that employees are not machines, but human beings with biological needs. Flexible work schedules could allow people to adopt more natural sleep patterns, prioritizing rest when their bodies truly need it, instead of simply adhering to a socially constructed framework. Furthermore, with advancements in technology, the idea of optimizing sleep isn't just a fantasy. Today, we have the tools to make biphasic sleep more accessible and effective than ever. Smart lighting systems that mimic natural sunlight, sleep tracking apps that monitor how well we're sleeping, and sleep masks that block out artificial light could all work together to support a 2-phase sleep schedule. People could use wearables to track their sleep cycles, ensuring they're getting the maximum amount of restorative rest during each sleep phase. What's more, sleep technology, such as smart beds that adjust to our sleeping positions and monitor our sleep quality, could optimize the first and second sleep phases, making sure that we're not just sleeping more, but sleeping better. It's interesting to think about the way society has come to view sleep as a passive, almost wasteful activity. The prevailing attitude has been that if you're not actively working or socializing during the day, you're missing out. But in a world where mental health and emotional well-being are becoming more central to our cultural conversation, it's becoming increasingly clear that sleep is not a luxury. It's a necessity that needs to be nurtured, understood, and optimized for every individual's unique needs. It's time we recognize that sleep, like food and exercise, is an active component of our health, not something to be brushed aside as an afterthought. In this future where biphasic sleep could take hold, we might see mental health programs that teach people how to embrace this 2-phase sleep cycle, providing guidance on how to use the time between sleep blocks effectively. There could be workshops on how to reflect or unwind in the middle of the night, or even support groups for those who want to experiment with this kind of rest. As more people turn to mindfulness, meditation, and other reflective practices to deal with modern-day stresses, this new form of sleep could be the missing link for mental and emotional well-being. Now, I know what you're thinking. How practical is this really? Can the modern world, with its packed schedules and societal expectations, ever truly embrace a 2-phase sleep schedule? It's a tough question, and in many ways it depends on the individual's life circumstances. But what we do know is that more people are waking up to the idea that sleep should be more than just a way to pass the time. It's a crucial dynamic part of our overall health. Whether it's biphasic sleep, segmented napping, or other creative ways to rest, we're beginning to rethink how we treat our bodies, and that shift could lead to significant improvements in health and productivity. The world of sleep is changing. With the knowledge and technology we have today, it's no longer about fitting sleep into our busy lives. It's about making sleep work for us, creating habits that help us live healthier, happier, and more balanced lives. As the understanding of sleep continues to evolve, the potential for biphasic sleep to become a mainstream practice might not be as far-fetched as it once seemed. Maybe the past, with its 2 sleep periods, was a guide to a more natural, holistic approach to rest. And just maybe, we'll find ourselves returning to those ancient rhythms sooner than we think. As we stand on the cusp of a new era in sleep research, it's fascinating to look back at how far we've come in understanding the complexities of rest and how it influences our overall health and well-being. The more we uncover about sleep, the more we realise that it isn't just a necessary evil to power through our days. It's an essential component of a healthy, balanced life. The return to biphasic sleep is not just a curiosity of the past. It could very well be the future of how we approach our rest, energy, and productivity. But for this to truly take hold, there's more than just understanding the science. Society itself must also evolve to embrace new, flexible ideas about how we structure our time and prioritise rest. Consider for a moment how much control we now have over our daily lives. In the past, sleep patterns were dictated by natural rhythms, sunrise, sunset, and the shifting of seasons. Today, we control our schedules with the press of a button. We have the flexibility to design our days, or at least carve out segments of time for work, socialising, and yes, sleep. This power comes with both freedom and responsibility. And as we strive to become more conscious of our own health, perhaps the answer lies in embracing flexibility within our routines, recognising that a one-size-fits-all sleep schedule may not work for everyone. For some, biphasic sleep could offer a way to break free from the rigid, often unhealthy patterns of rest we've adopted in the modern era. At the heart of this shift toward biphasic sleep is the simple realisation that sleep isn't just a commodity, it's an investment in ourselves. This idea was central to our ancestors, who recognised the benefits of a well-paced night's rest, one that allowed for both deep recovery and personal time. Imagine how beneficial it would be if our modern world could afford people the flexibility to wake up in the middle of the night, take a brief break, and then return to a second, deeply restorative sleep phase. What if society could embrace this pattern, recognising that this quiet, reflective time in the middle of the night might not be a disruption, but rather a sacred pause, one that allows for a more balanced, fulfilling life? To make biphasic sleep a reality, it's clear that we need more than just individuals experimenting with their own schedules. It will require a cultural shift, a move away from the rigid 24-hour workday, with its unrelenting push for constant productivity, and toward a system that embraces the importance of rest and personal well-being. Could this shift actually happen? Could we see businesses, schools, and other institutions begin to understand that a person's best work doesn't come from squeezing the most hours out of them, but from allowing people the time they need to rest, recharge, and reflect? In a society that glorifies busyness, the idea of taking time off in the middle of the night to simply rest and rejuvenate could be revolutionary. It's also worth noting that the nature of modern work has changed considerably over the years, with many people now working from home, on flexible schedules, or in self-employment. This newfound freedom presents the perfect opportunity for people to experiment with biphasic sleep and see how it affects their productivity and overall quality of life. People who have the ability to design their own schedules, whether through freelancing, remote work, or entrepreneurship, are finding more freedom to experiment with their sleep, and the results are telling. Some find that splitting their sleep into 2 blocks allows them to work more effectively during the day, feeling more energized and focused, while others report experiencing better mood regulation, less stress, and improved mental clarity. While not everyone has the luxury to work on their own terms, there's still hope that society can gradually shift toward a more rest-positive culture, one that acknowledges the fundamental importance of sleep. Imagine a world where schools start later, where businesses acknowledge the role of rest in creativity and productivity, and where we, as individuals, are encouraged to listen to our bodies and find the sleep rhythm that works for us. With growing research backing the benefits of flexible sleep schedules, biphasic sleep could become the new ideal for a world that's learning to value rest as much as work. In fact, there's a compelling argument to be made that embracing more natural sleep rhythms could even improve our collective mental health. With rising rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout, the need for real, restorative rest has never been clearer. Sleep deprivation doesn't just affect us physically. It has profound effects on our emotional and mental states as well. And while no single solution can solve the complexities of mental health issues, biphasic sleep offers one possible avenue to reduce the pressure and demands placed on our brains and bodies during our waking hours. But adopting biphasic sleep in today's world will not be without its obstacles. There's the societal push to prioritise productivity, the challenge of organising work around flexible schedules, and the reality that some people simply can't afford to take breaks in the middle of the night. Yet, if we begin to view sleep as a necessary life-enhancing investment rather than an inconvenient requirement, we may be able to change how we view not just sleep but rest itself. As we begin to recognize the importance of rest not as a luxury but as a vital part of our well-being, perhaps more people will start to experiment with their sleep patterns and find that biphasic sleep works for them. The future is full of possibilities when it comes to how we sleep. We're just scratching the surface of the benefits of flexible, balanced sleep schedules. Whether it's a return to biphasic sleep or an entirely new form of rest that better aligns with the rhythm of our lives, one thing is certain: the conversation about sleep and its role in our health is far from over. As science advances, and as we continue to break free from outdated notions of productivity and efficiency, we may very well find that the best way to live and sleep is to take our time, listen to our bodies, and find our natural rhythms once again. As we continue to look ahead, it's clear that the future of sleep holds a wealth of untapped potential that in many ways harkens back to the natural rhythms of the past. If biphasic sleep has taught us anything, it's that the way we sleep is far from static. It evolves in response to the cultural, technological, and environmental changes around us. And with this evolving understanding, the idea of optimal sleep may very well be an ongoing experiment in finding balance, not just between the waking world and the sleeping world, but also within ourselves. What's truly remarkable is how the re-examination of our sleep patterns might ripple out into other areas of our lives. Just think about how adopting a more flexible sleep schedule could change the way we approach not only work but also social life, family dynamics, and self-care. Imagine a world where the importance of rest is built into the very structure of our communities, a world that acknowledges that sleep, as much as work or exercise, is a cornerstone of health. Take remote working and the rise of the digital nomad lifestyle, for instance. With more people now working from home, there's been a shift away from the rigid schedules of 9-to-5 office life. Many employees have more control over their work hours, allowing for greater flexibility in their daily routines. This flexibility provides the perfect opportunity to experiment with new ways of structuring rest. The potential benefits of splitting sleep into 2 phases become clear in this context. Individuals can sleep when they feel the most tired and rest when their bodies need it most, rather than forcing themselves into a set, unchanging routine. Furthermore, it's not just about how we sleep, but where we sleep. Imagine a future where the environments we create for sleep are optimized for relaxation, health, and well-being. No longer relegated to simply getting through the night, sleep spaces could be designed to enhance the quality of rest, with more focus on soothing atmospheres, natural light patterns, and soundscapes that promote restorative sleep. Just as we've become more conscious of the food we eat and the fitness regimens we follow, so too could we begin to pay attention to the places where we sleep. In a world that celebrates wellness, designing sleep environments that promote healthier rest could be just as important as creating spaces for physical and mental exercise. The rise of wellness-oriented hotels, spas, and retreats is a prime example of how our understanding of rest is evolving. These spaces are increasingly becoming destinations for not just relaxation, but holistic well-being. They provide carefully curated environments designed to optimize rest, with services ranging from sleep-focused therapies to specialized sleep pods. The idea that you could travel to a location where the entire focus is on enhancing your sleep and well-being might seem novel today, but as sleep research continues to expand, this could become a mainstream part of travel and leisure. People may begin to book vacations not just to escape but to recover, to improve their sleep cycles, and to return home feeling rested and recharged. As technology advances, so too does the ability to track and optimize sleep. We already have wearable devices and apps that measure everything from sleep duration to sleep quality, and some of these tools are even smart enough to adjust your environment, dim the lights, adjust the room temperature, or play white noise at optimal times. Imagine the potential of this technology. Devices that could help you fall into a deep first sleep, wake at the right time, and then guide you back into a second round of sleep with a precision that aligns perfectly with your body's natural needs. The possibility of creating an entirely personalized sleep experience, powered by data, is a tantalizing one that could redefine how we approach rest. But it's not just about gadgets. The future of sleep may also rely heavily on our ability to understand the science of sleep and integrate it into our lifestyles. As our knowledge of sleep deepens, we'll have a better understanding of how to design our lives around rest. optimizing our days and nights for the ultimate well-being. We may find that the key to optimal health isn't just more sleep, but the right kind of sleep, the kind that aligns with our natural sleep cycles, supports our mental health, and helps us unlock our full potential as individuals. As we look ahead, we're on the verge of a sleep renaissance. It's a movement that brings together the best of ancient wisdom and modern science, creating a more mindful, balanced approach to rest. This movement will empower us to be more conscious of the role sleep plays in our lives, not just as a means to recharge for the next day, but as a critical part of our overall health, creativity, and happiness. It's a movement that embraces sleep as an integral part of the human experience, something to be nurtured, celebrated, and optimized. The benefits of returning to biphasic sleep, or perhaps adopting other flexible, individualized sleep cycles, may be immense. And while not everyone will feel the need or desire to experiment with two-phase sleep, the more open we are to understanding sleep's true potential, the better equipped we will be to embrace our natural rhythms and build healthier, more fulfilling lives. So, whether you sleep in 1 block, 2 blocks, or find your own unique pattern, one thing is clear. The future of sleep is one where we take the time to truly rest, reflect, and recharge. And in doing so, we become the best versions of ourselves. As we continue to explore the possibilities of biphasic sleep and its potential for modern society, it's important to step back and reflect on how sleep has been viewed throughout history, and how those perceptions have evolved to where we are now. In many ways, the evolution of sleep habits mirrors the evolution of society itself. Just as industrialization and modern technology reshaped the way we work, so too have they reshaped the way we rest. The shift from a natural cyclical approach to sleep, where rest was broken up into 2 phases, to the continuous sleep pattern we adhere to today, is a microcosm of the broader shift from a world that worked in harmony with natural rhythms to one that is governed by clocks, deadlines, and artificial lights. In the past, people lived in sync with their environment. They woke up with the sun, and with the fall of night, the day's work came to an end, ushering in a period of rest. This natural rhythm led to a 2-phase sleep pattern, where people would sleep for a few hours after dark, wake up during the night, and then go back to bed for a second round of rest. This schedule wasn't simply a matter of tradition, it was deeply tied to the natural environment and the human body's intrinsic rhythms. With no electricity or artificial light to distort the natural day-night cycle, this pattern made sense. But as technology progressed, so did our sleep patterns. The introduction of electric light in the late 19th century disrupted our natural sleep-wake cycle, allowing us to stay awake far longer into the night. Soon, the concept of sleep as a single, uninterrupted block became the cultural norm. Today, the idea of sleeping in 2 phases, of waking in the middle of the night and returning to bed, may seem strange, almost antiquated. Yet, as we've seen, there's something quite natural about the biphasic sleep cycle, something that modern science is starting to recognize as a potential remedy for many of our sleep-related issues. This shift from segmented to continuous sleep raises an interesting question. Why did we abandon biphasic sleep in the first place? The simple answer is efficiency. The Industrial Revolution demanded that people be awake for longer hours, and with the advent of electric light, the boundaries of the day were blurred. People didn't need to sleep twice because they were now expected to be productive during extended hours. Society encouraged the idea of uninterrupted, consolidated sleep as the ideal. Get your 8 hours of sleep and get back to work. But in our quest for more productivity and efficiency, we might have overlooked the importance of the quality of our sleep. If you think about it, biphasic sleep wasn't just about getting more rest, it was about getting the right kind of rest. When people woke up in the middle of the night, it wasn't just to toss and turn, it was to reflect, connect, and recharge. There was time for mental rest and creativity, for spiritual reflection or quiet conversation, activities that were essential for emotional balance and well-being. So what does it mean to return to these practices in the modern world? It means rethinking how we value productivity and rest. As we come to understand more about our circadian rhythms and the role they play in sleep, we begin to see that biphasic sleep might not just be a relic of the past, it could be a solution to the sleep crisis we face today. With sleep deprivation on the rise, could we be looking at a future where we abandon the idea of the perfect 8 hours of sleep, and instead embrace a more fluid, personalized approach to rest? The future of sleep doesn't necessarily lie in a rigid one-size-fits-all approach. It's clear that some people benefit from a single block of sleep, while others might thrive with a biphasic schedule. The key is personalization. Advances in sleep science and wearable technology are allowing us to better understand our sleep patterns and find the schedules that work best for our individual needs. We are entering a new era in which we can optimize our sleep based on data, be it through adjusting the timing of our sleep, tweaking the environment in which we sleep, or learning more about how our bodies respond to different sleep cycles. Interestingly, some studies suggest that a biphasic sleep pattern could be particularly beneficial in today's world, where stress, anxiety, and mental health challenges are at the forefront of many people's lives. In our fast-paced world, where we are constantly bombarded by digital distractions and late-night work, the idea of breaking sleep into 2 segments might provide the mental relief and rejuvenation we need. For those suffering from insomnia or stress-related sleep issues, the opportunity to wake up in the middle of the night, not out of restlessness, but as part of a structured cycle, could make all the difference. It allows the mind to process the day's events, reflect, or even relax before diving back into the comforting embrace of the second sleep phase. In the coming years, as more people experiment with their sleep habits and the science behind sleep continues to evolve, we may see a dramatic shift in how we approach sleep. The future may very well be one where we break free from the traditional 8 hours of sleep mindset and move toward a more flexible, individualized sleep schedule, one that allows for greater creativity, better mental health, and a deeper connection to the natural rhythms of our bodies. As we move forward, there's no doubt that the modern world will continue to challenge our ability to maintain a healthy sleep pattern. But with the knowledge we're gaining about sleep and the technology available to us, we have the potential to reshape how we rest. Whether it's through biphasic sleep, segmented naps, or personalized sleep cycles, we are entering an exciting era where we can optimize our rest for both mental and physical well-being. The question is, will we embrace the sleep patterns of the past, refine them with the tools of the present, and use them to create a future where sleep truly supports our health, creativity, and happiness? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, our understanding of sleep has only just begun to scratch the surface, and the possibilities for a more restful, rejuvenating world are endless. As we look ahead to the future of sleep, there's an undeniable sense of excitement, especially when we consider the ways in which technology is intersecting with our natural rhythms. In a world that has spent centuries disconnecting from nature's cycles, we now have the tools to reconnect with them in a meaningful, data-driven way. The return to biphasic sleep and other flexible sleep patterns isn't just about revisiting the past. It's about reimagining how we live, work, and rest in a world that is rapidly evolving. One of the key components of this reconnection is the role of technology in shaping sleep patterns. It's no longer just about tracking sleep, it's about actively optimizing it. We now have smart mattresses that adjust to our body temperature and sleep positions, wearable devices that track our sleep cycles and monitor our heart rate variability, and even light therapy tools designed to simulate sunrise and sunset, helping us sync up with our natural circadian rhythms. These innovations have the potential to revolutionize the way we sleep, making it easier than ever to tailor our rest to our individual needs. Let's imagine a future where sleep optimization is no longer a novelty, but a mainstream practice. Picture this. You're getting ready to go to bed, but instead of just flipping the switch on your nightlight and crawling under the covers, your room is automatically adjusted to the ideal temperature for sleep. Your smart pillow gently conforms to your neck and head, providing perfect support, while your bed settings are fine-tuned to optimize comfort and relaxation. You slip into your first sleep phase effortlessly. But here's where it gets interesting. Your sleep tracker sends you a gentle wake-up signal around 3 a.m. You don't feel groggy or disturbed. You simply wake up to a perfectly timed break in your sleep cycle. The lights dim, a soft sound of ambient music plays, and you have an hour to relax, reflect, or enjoy a quiet moment. Then, as your body naturally craves more rest, you fall back asleep for your second phase, recharged and ready for the next day. This scenario might sound like science fiction, but with the rapid development of sleep tech, it could be a very real possibility in the near future. Devices that track sleep stages, monitor environmental factors like light and temperature, and even provide biofeedback to optimize rest are already in use today. The question then becomes, How can we integrate these advancements into our everyday lives in a way that brings us closer to natural rhythms, rather than further away from them? The beauty of biphasic sleep in this future context is that it wouldn't be about rigid schedules or trying to force sleep into a predefined mould. It would be about listening to our bodies, our needs, our rhythms and our natural cycles, and responding in a way that promotes overall health. In this way, biphasic sleep wouldn't just be a throwback to history, it would be a modern solution to a modern problem. With the rise of personalised health solutions, it's no longer one-size-fits-all when it comes to sleep. Some people might find that a traditional 8-hour sleep schedule works best for them, while others might feel more refreshed and alert with 2 distinct sleep periods. The key here is personalisation and choice. Each individual can now experiment with their sleep patterns to discover what works best for them. The growing field of sleep optimization isn't just for those with sleep disorders. It's for anyone who wants to maximise the benefits of their rest, improve their overall productivity, and reclaim some of the natural balance that was lost during industrialization. But it's not just about using technology to optimize our sleep. The growing awareness of the importance of rest extends beyond gadgets and apps. There's a rising cultural shift that embraces rest, recovery, and self-care. People are increasingly seeking out environments designed specifically to promote healthy sleep, from wellness hotels and sleep retreats to home products that support better rest. The world of wellness is becoming more connected to the idea of holistic health, and sleep is a cornerstone of that shift. We're beginning to realize that well-being isn't just about what we eat, how much we exercise, or how much we work. It's about how we rest. Imagine if every hotel room, every office space, and even every home was designed with sleep in mind, not just as a basic necessity, but as a crucial component of health and creativity. Hotels of the future might include not just comfy beds, but specialized sleep rooms optimized with sleep technology, ambient lighting, and soundscapes that encourage restorative sleep. In offices, workplaces might adopt nap pods and integrate more flexibility into daily schedules, allowing employees to rest and recharge during the day, just as the biphasic sleep cycle suggests. One could even envision public spaces that promote rest, creating environments where sleep is seen as an active and rejuvenating part of the daily routine, not just a passive activity to be squeezed in between work and social obligations. Imagine walking into a park where there are designated nap areas, with calming sounds and soft, adjustable beds, encouraging people to rest rather than rush through their busy days. But of course, adopting a biphasic sleep cycle would also require changes to our broader societal structures. It would mean rethinking how we view the workday, how we approach productivity, and how we define success. If sleep is truly foundational to our well-being, as the science suggests, then shouldn't we be working toward a culture that recognizes quality sleep as essential to achieving our best work? In a world where work often demands uninterrupted attention, it's time to shift toward a model that prioritizes restful productivity, where breaks for reflection, creativity, and mental recovery are not only allowed, but encouraged. As we move forward, the question isn't whether biphasic sleep will take over, it's about how we can integrate it into our modern lives, alongside the technologies and cultural shifts that will allow us to reclaim sleep as a vital, holistic component of a balanced life. This isn't a return to the past, it's a reinvention of how we sleep in a world that demands both productivity and well-being. The future of sleep, and of our overall health, may just lie in embracing a more flexible, personalised approach to rest, an approach that's as adaptable as we are. As we near the final stages of our exploration into biphasic sleep and its potential to reshape our understanding of rest in modern life, it's clear that this ancient practice isn't just a nostalgic relic of the past, it's a potential solution for many of the sleep-related problems that we face today. But what would it actually take for biphasic sleep to become more than just a trend or a curiosity? How can we begin to integrate it into our fast-paced modern lives, where every hour of rest seems to be accounted for by the relentless ticking of the clock? The truth is, biphasic sleep requires a shift in mindset. For centuries, sleep has been viewed as something we do simply to recover from the demands of the day. But in reality, sleep is far more than just a way to passively recharge. It is an active process that plays a critical role in our health, creativity, and mental clarity. The idea that sleep can be broken into 2 phases, with a natural break in the middle, challenges our deeply ingrained assumptions about what sleep should look like. In fact, The practice of biphasic sleep may actually be more natural than the modern pattern of uninterrupted sleep, which was largely shaped by the Industrial Revolution, technology, and the demands of a 24-hour economy. For biphasic sleep to become widely accepted, we need to acknowledge that the quality of sleep is just as important as the quantity. And the truth is, we may not need 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep to function at our best. Instead, we may need more flexible, individualized sleep schedules that respect the natural rhythms of our bodies. People's needs vary. Some might benefit from longer, uninterrupted periods of rest, while others might feel more energized by splitting their sleep into 2 phases. The key is in personalization, learning to understand how different sleep patterns affect our mental and physical health, and making adjustments that work for our lifestyles. However, this cultural shift would require more than just individual adaptation. It would require a broader societal change. Imagine a world where businesses and schools embrace the idea of flexibility when it comes to sleep schedules. Instead of adhering to rigid work hours or school timetables that leave little room for personal rest, we could create systems that encourage more balanced approaches to productivity and well-being. What if workplaces allowed for midday breaks to rest and recharge, or schools adjusted their start times to accommodate the natural sleep rhythms of teenagers? These changes could help people incorporate the benefits of biphasic sleep into their routines, giving them the flexibility they need to rest effectively. Additionally, as we think about the future of sleep, we must also consider the role of technology in reshaping how we rest. While the digital age has undeniably made it harder to disconnect from work, artificial light, and constant stimulation, it has also provided us with tools to optimize our sleep. We already have sleep tracking devices that can monitor our sleep stages, wearable tech that helps regulate our exposure to light, and smart home systems that adjust the temperature, noise levels, and lighting of our sleeping environments. These technologies could be used to help people adapt to biphasic sleep, by guiding them toward better sleep habits and ensuring that their environment supports restful sleep at every phase. Another factor that will be crucial in the widespread adoption of biphasic sleep is the changing workplace culture. In recent years, there's been a growing movement toward more flexible work hours, remote work, and a greater focus on work-life balance. If this trend continues, more people may find themselves in a position to experiment with biphasic sleep patterns. Those who work from home or have control over their schedules may be the first to embrace this natural, flexible approach to rest. But even for those working in traditional office settings, there may be a growing recognition that well-rested employees are more productive, creative, and engaged. By giving workers the freedom to rest when they need to, businesses could actually see long-term benefits, both in terms of employee health and the quality of work produced. For this change to truly take hold, we need to reframe our relationship with sleep. Instead of seeing sleep as a passive, necessary evil, we should begin to view it as a tool for better mental and physical health. Sleep isn't something we do just to get through the day. It's a vital process that supports our well-being, creativity, and emotional balance. By rediscovering the practice of biphasic sleep, we can take a more mindful approach to rest, allowing us to reset and recharge in ways that promote optimal health and productivity. The future of sleep may very well lie in embracing natural rhythms, and biphasic sleep could be the key to unlocking that potential. If we listen to our bodies, respect our need for rest, and integrate the lessons of the past with the advancements of the present, we could create a new paradigm for how we sleep, work, and live. Whether you're someone who thrives on continuous sleep, or you're curious to explore a more flexible sleep cycle, the important takeaway here is that sleep is not a one-size-fits-all solution. We all have different needs, and by taking a personalized approach to our rest, we can optimize our sleep for better health, creativity, and overall well-being. So, as we look to the future, let's not be afraid to rethink the way we sleep. Whether it's through biphasic sleep, segmented naps, or other innovative approaches to rest, the future of sleep is bright, and it's all about listening to our bodies, making thoughtful choices, and embracing the natural rhythms that guide us. As we step further into the realm of sleep science and technology, it's clear that our relationship with rest is evolving. The resurgence of biphasic sleep is just one aspect of a larger movement that seeks to redefine how we approach the act of sleeping, resting, and recovering. In the past, sleep was seen as a necessary part of daily life, but as society progressed, it became a casualty of modernity. The demands of work, social life, and technology pushed us into an era of constant wakefulness, where sleep became something we squeezed in between the various tasks of the day, rather than an integral part of maintaining our health and vitality. However, with a renewed focus on mental health, productivity, and overall well-being, we are starting to recognize that sleep is not just an interruption to our lives. It's a critical component that shapes how we function in every area of life. The practice of biphasic sleep, while rooted in history, has the potential to offer modern society a way to return to a more natural way of resting, one that is aligned with our biological rhythms and emotional needs. So, as we continue to explore the benefits of biphasic sleep, let's consider how this shift might affect our broader understanding of well-being. Imagine a society where sleep is no longer something to be optimized for maximum efficiency, but embraced for its restorative qualities. This idea challenges our cultural obsession with constant productivity and performance. It encourages us to take time for rest, time to reflect, recharge, and renew. If we can change how we view sleep, we might change how we view our entire approach to health. Biphasic sleep, in many ways, challenges the notion that sleep should be confined to a strict 8-hour block. It encourages flexibility, allowing individuals to align their rest patterns with their personal needs and their body's natural rhythms. In a world where people are increasingly focused on wellness, mindfulness, and holistic health, the idea of splitting sleep into 2 distinct phases could be part of a much-needed paradigm shift, a way to optimize not just sleep, but life itself. However, in order to fully integrate biphasic sleep into the fabric of modern society, we'll need to rethink how we structure our daily routines. Right now, society's expectation is that work happens during the day and rest happens at night. This rigid dichotomy is reinforced by the demands of modern work culture, which continues to prioritize long hours of continuous productivity. To embrace biphasic sleep, we may need to reshape the standard workday, encouraging flexibility in how people schedule their time. By adopting more adaptable work hours and prioritizing rest and recovery, society could unlock the potential benefits of biphasic sleep for better health, mental clarity, and even creativity. While this cultural shift may take time, the tools and knowledge are already available to make biphasic sleep a reality. Thanks to advancements in sleep science and technology, people now have access to a wealth of information about their sleep habits. Wearable devices, sleep trackers, and apps allow people to monitor their sleep cycles and make adjustments as needed. In the future, these technologies will likely become even more advanced, helping individuals fine-tune their sleep patterns and understand what works best for their bodies. This personalized approach to sleep optimization will allow individuals to experiment with different sleep cycles and determine if a biphasic pattern or another form of segmented sleep works for them. We are also seeing a rise in sleep-focused innovations in the wellness and hospitality industries. Hotels, wellness retreats, and even co-working spaces are now incorporating elements of sleep science into their design. From rooms optimized for rest to sleep pods and power naps, these spaces are acknowledging the importance of rest and recovery in maintaining peak performance. The concept of sleep retreats, where people can go to relax, unwind, and rejuvenate, may be a natural progression in the growing movement toward health-focused travel. These spaces could integrate practices like biphasic sleep, offering guests the opportunity to rest in 2 phases during their stay, maximizing the benefits of their time off. What's truly exciting is the potential for cultural normalization of sleep flexibility. If society begins to accept and embrace biphasic sleep, there could be more room for people to prioritize their sleep in a way that works best for them. Just as we've shifted our understanding of nutrition, fitness, and mental health in recent years, sleep could become a more holistic, individualized experience. With a growing focus on self-care and well-being, biphasic sleep could become part of a more mindful, sustainable lifestyle, one that prioritizes both work and rest in a balanced way. So, what does the future of sleep look like? It's not just about reverting to an ancient practice. It's about blending the best aspects of the past with the innovations of the present. The future of sleep will likely be characterized by personalization, where individuals take control of their own sleep schedules based on their unique needs. It will also be marked by flexibility, a move away from rigid sleep routines to a model that supports people in living healthier, more balanced lives. We may be on the cusp of a sleep revolution, one that shifts our understanding of rest and rejuvenation from a passive activity to an active, intentional part of our daily routine. and whether biphasic sleep becomes the norm or another form of segmented rest rises to prominence, the future is clear. Sleep will no longer be an afterthought, but an essential part of our well-being. As we embrace the lessons of the past and incorporate the tools of the present, we'll redefine how we approach sleep, not just as a time to rest, but as a time to reconnect with ourselves, restore our energy, and prepare for the challenges ahead. The future of sleep is full of possibilities, and it's one that promises to improve not only how we sleep, but how we live. As we reach the final stretch of our exploration into biphasic sleep and its potential to reshape modern rest, it's time to reflect on the broader impact of sleep on society. In many ways, our understanding of sleep has been too narrow, limited by outdated societal structures and misconceptions about what rest should look like. We've come to think of sleep as a necessary, even mundane activity that we should simply get through. But as we've seen throughout this journey, sleep is far more complex, valuable, and integral to our lives than we've been taught to believe. Biphasic sleep, while a fascinating glimpse into the past, also offers us a unique opportunity to rethink our relationship with rest. The idea of splitting sleep into two phases might feel unusual or even impractical to some, but the underlying principle, that sleep should be tailored to our individual needs, holds immense potential. It's not just about sleeping twice during the night, but rather about reconnecting with our natural rhythms and acknowledging that rest is not a one-size-fits-all commodity. We are all unique, and so are our sleep needs. For some, biphasic sleep could be the key to optimizing health, productivity, and emotional well-being. However, as much as biphasic sleep offers exciting potential, it's clear that this approach is only part of the picture. The true shift in sleep culture will involve more than just adopting a new sleep schedule. It will require a reframing of how we view rest itself. It's not enough to just add another sleep cycle or break up our rest into two blocks. We need to change the way we think about sleep, to stop seeing it as a wasted part of the day and instead recognize it as an active, essential component of our health and happiness. In the past, people understood sleep as a natural process, a way to restore and rejuvenate both the body and mind. It was seen as a holistic practice that allowed for mental reflection, physical recovery, and emotional balance. Modern society, however, has turned sleep into a commodity, a means to an end, rather than an end in itself. The pursuit of productivity has made it easy to forget that sleep is just as important for mental clarity, creativity, and emotional well-being as any other activity we engage in during the day. As more people become aware of the benefits of biphasic sleep and other sleep patterns, we could see a cultural revolution in how sleep is approached. This revolution might involve a move away from rigid, productivity-driven schedules and toward a more flexible, personalized approach to rest. Imagine a world where businesses, schools, and communities no longer prioritize wakefulness at the expense of rest. Imagine a future where people are encouraged to listen to their bodies, recognize their need for sleep, and structure their time in a way that balances work and rest. The potential benefits of such a shift are vast. Studies show that getting quality sleep can improve cognitive function, boost immune health, reduce stress, and promote emotional resilience. The power of sleep isn't just about recovering from exhaustion, it's about thriving. People who get the sleep they need when they need it are more likely to succeed in both their professional and personal lives. By fostering a culture that values sleep and rest as essential to overall health, we could see improved outcomes in productivity, creativity, and mental well-being across the board. In addition to the physical and mental health benefits, rethinking sleep could also promote a more compassionate society. We live in a world where hustle culture has become synonymous with success. We've been conditioned to believe that working long hours, sacrificing rest, and pushing ourselves to the brink is the path to achievement. But by challenging this narrative and embracing the idea of rest as a form of self-care, we could create a society that values balance, reflection, and well-being just as much as hard work and productivity. This cultural shift would benefit not only individuals but society as a whole, reducing burnout, promoting happiness, and encouraging healthier relationships. As we've discussed throughout this journey, biphasic sleep is just one of many ways that people are rethinking how they sleep. Whether through the adoption of segmented sleep, afternoon naps, or other restorative practices, the focus is shifting from merely getting through the night to making sleep an active, intentional part of our lives. No longer are we just sleeping. We're restoring, recharging, and re-engaging with ourselves on a deeper level. We're relearning how to listen to our bodies and respond to our natural needs for rest. So, what does the future of sleep hold? Perhaps it will look like a return to ancient practices, but with the benefits of modern science to guide us. Perhaps it will be characterized by flexibility, choice, and a deeper understanding of how our bodies respond to rest. Whatever form it takes, one thing is certain. We are at the beginning of a new sleep revolution. The time has come to reclaim our relationship with sleep, to view it not as an obstacle to productivity, but as a vital component of a balanced, healthy, and fulfilling life. As we continue to explore new ways to optimize our rest and rejuvenate our bodies and minds, we are embarking on a journey that will redefine how we live and sleep in the years to come. As we approach the conclusion of this journey into the world of biphasic sleep, it's important to take a moment to reflect on what we've learned and where this exploration of sleep might lead. For centuries, people lived in tune with natural rhythms, sleeping in 2 phases each night, separated by a brief wakeful period. This pattern, deeply rooted in human biology, was once the norm. But over time, as industrialization and modern technology took hold, we adopted a continuous sleep pattern that worked with the changing demands of society. But now, as we look back at the history of sleep, we begin to see that perhaps, just maybe, there's a better way. A way that allows us to restore the balance between work, rest, and personal well-being. Biphasic sleep isn't just about splitting sleep into 2 parts. It's about rediscovering how we interact with our natural rhythms and how we might optimize our rest to live healthier, more balanced lives. While the traditional concept of 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep remains the gold standard for many, the idea that we can rest in 2 phases, one deep, the other reflective, offers a fresh perspective on how to balance our sleep with the demands of modern life. This return to biphasic sleep also brings with it a shift in how we view rest. It challenges the cultural narrative that rest is a waste of time or a luxury. Instead, rest is now being redefined as a necessity for both mental and physical well-being. Sleep is no longer just about recuperating after a busy day. It's about recharging our brains, rejuvenating our bodies, and strengthening our emotional resilience. Whether through increased productivity, improved mood, or better memory, the impact of biphasic sleep on our overall health could be transformative, offering us a more sustainable way to function in a world that demands so much from us. With the rise of sleep science, the use of technology to track and optimize rest, and a growing cultural awareness of mental health, we're in the middle of a sleep renaissance. People are no longer simply sleeping, they're taking control of their sleep patterns, using data and insights to maximize the benefits of rest. We're on the verge of a future where sleep is no longer an afterthought, but a crucial part of our daily wellness routine. But for biphasic sleep, or any other flexible sleep pattern, to truly become part of our modern world, there's still work to be done. A major cultural shift is required, one that recognizes that we're more than just work machines. We need to rethink how we organize our time, structure our workdays, and prioritize our health. As we move forward, we could see an era where businesses and schools embrace flexible schedules that accommodate the biological needs of individuals. In a world that is increasingly centered around well-being, rest, and self-care, sleep will no longer be seen as a barrier to productivity, but as a partner in achieving success. One of the most intriguing aspects of this potential future is the way it integrates personal freedom with societal progress. As more people experiment with their sleep schedules, we may see a growing body of evidence supporting the benefits of biphasic sleep, not just for mental health, but for overall physical health as well. With the right tools and knowledge, people could take charge of their sleep habits in a way that works for them individually, leading to more restful, fulfilling lives. This shift in sleep culture could pave the way for a society that values balance over relentless productivity. As we consider how biphasic sleep might shape the future, it's also important to recognize the role that technology will continue to play in this transformation. Imagine a world where your environment, your schedule, and your sleep cycle are all synchronized to promote optimal health. From sleep tracking apps and smart devices that adjust your lighting, to sleep pods and wellness retreats that encourage segmented rest, the future of sleep could be as personalized as it is restorative. With the ability to monitor and adjust our sleep patterns in real time, we could achieve a level of sleep quality and control that was once unimaginable. As we continue to explore these possibilities, it's worth remembering that the ultimate goal is well-being. Whether through biphasic sleep, personalized sleep cycles, or other innovative methods of rest, the aim is to create a system of sleep that supports our needs and helps us thrive, not just survive. The future of sleep holds immense promise, and it's up to each of us to experiment, learn, and adapt, ultimately crafting a sleep routine that helps us feel our best day after day. Looking ahead, we're on the verge of a new era in which sleep is recognized not as a passive activity, but as an active component of our overall health. With the growing recognition that rest is just as important as activity, the practice of sleep, whether it's biphasic, segmented, or optimized in some other way, will continue to evolve. This new approach to sleep could unlock potential in every area of our lives, from productivity and creativity to health and happiness. By rethinking how we sleep and how we organize our time, we might just find that the best path to success, happiness, and well-being isn't through endless work hours or constant wakefulness, but through intentional, restorative rest. And as we move into this future, where sleep becomes an integral part of our daily routine, we'll discover that the key to a healthier, more balanced life may be closer than we think, right in the middle of the night when we allow ourselves to take a break and simply rest. As we reach the final section of our deep dive into biphasic sleep and its potential for transforming the way we rest, it's time to reflect on the journey we've taken. We've traced the roots of biphasic sleep in history, explored the cultural and societal factors that pushed us toward continuous sleep, and examined the health benefits that could arise from embracing a more flexible, segmented sleep pattern. Now, as we look ahead, we must ask, what does the future of sleep look like, and how can we ensure that rest remains a vital part of our lives in the years to come? The future of sleep is inextricably linked to our evolving relationship with time. For centuries, time was dictated by the natural cycles of the sun and the seasons. People woke with the light, worked through the day and rested during the night. The introduction of artificial light, the Industrial Revolution, and the demands of modern society pushed us away from these natural rhythms, leading to the rise of continuous sleep cycles. But now, with the growing awareness of the importance of sleep and the rise of personalized health technologies, there is a strong push to reconnect with the natural patterns that once shaped our lives. One of the key reasons why biphasic sleep is so appealing today is that it challenges the modern notion that productivity must be uninterrupted. In our quest for efficiency, we've ignored the value of rest, and more importantly, the quality of rest. The future of sleep isn't about squeezing as many hours as possible into a single stretch of sleep, but about optimizing those hours for recovery and mental clarity. Biphasic sleep provides the opportunity to do just that. Split your rest into 2 phases, allowing for more flexibility and a deeper, more restorative sleep experience. In a world where self-care is becoming more important than ever, sleep will continue to take center stage as a cornerstone of our well-being. The growing field of sleep science has taught us that rest is not just a passive activity, but an active process that impacts everything from cognitive function to immune health to emotional stability. Whether it's through biphasic sleep, segmented napping, or personalized sleep cycles, we are beginning to see sleep not as a luxury, but as a necessity, a tool we can use to unlock our best selves. But the adoption of biphasic sleep doesn't come without its challenges. In many ways, the modern world is still structured around a continuous sleep cycle. Work schedules, school hours, and social norms often expect us to sleep in one uninterrupted block. Changing this paradigm won't be easy, but the growing acceptance of flexible work schedules, remote work, and wellness programs suggest that we may be on the cusp of a sleep revolution. With more and more people prioritizing work-life balance and self-care, it's not far-fetched to imagine a future where sleep is optimized to fit the unique needs of each individual, rather than being dictated by an antiquated one-size-fits-all model. To make this a reality, we'll need to continue embracing a culture that values rest as much as it does productivity. In workplaces, schools, and homes, the message must shift from sleep when you can to sleep when you need it. We must recognize that sleep isn't just the absence of wakefulness, but a vital activity that rejuvenates the body and mind. Whether it's through adopting a biphasic sleep pattern, taking intentional breaks during the day, or simply allowing ourselves to rest when we need it, we need to honor sleep as an essential part of our well-being. As we look ahead, It's also clear that technology will play a significant role in reshaping our sleep habits. The rise of wearable devices, sleep trackers, and smart home systems means that we can now tailor our sleep environment to our exact needs. Imagine being able to monitor your sleep cycles, adjust your room temperature, and even receive personalized recommendations for improving your rest. With these tools at our disposal, we'll be able to fine-tune our sleep patterns, ensuring that we're getting the best quality rest possible. Additionally, with the growing recognition of the importance of sleep for mental health, we may see a shift in how sleep is integrated into therapeutic practices. Sleep disorders such as insomnia, sleep apnea, and restless leg syndrome affect millions of people worldwide, and understanding the role of sleep in mental health could lead to more effective treatments. Biphasic sleep, as a form of structured rest, could even become part of therapeutic interventions for people struggling with chronic sleep problems, providing them with a natural, personalized way to regain their sleep balance. The future of sleep holds exciting potential, and biphasic sleep may just be one of the keys to unlocking better health, better productivity, and a better quality of life. As we continue to embrace flexibility, personalization, and the importance of rest, we'll find that sleep isn't just something we do, it's something we value and optimize to improve our lives. Whether we return to an ancient practice like biphasic sleep or create entirely new methods of rest, the possibilities are endless. What matters most is that we begin to prioritize sleep as an active, essential part of our well-being and a tool for a healthier, more balanced life. So, as we look toward the future, let's embrace the lessons of the past, the insights of modern science, and the tools of technology to create a world where sleep is recognized not just as an interruption to our day, but as a vital, rejuvenating practice that helps us thrive. The future of sleep is bright, and it's up to us to shape it, one restful night at a time, full 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 night at a time,